In this video, I'm going to talk to you about why Social Security is not going to run out of money and what changes could be made in order to extend its life. In 2024, the Social Security Trustees Report, which is a report that's released every year by the Social Security Trustees, stated that if changes weren't made prior to 2035, that the Social Security Administration would have enough to fund 83% of the projected and promised benefits. Now, this number has been speculated to be a little bit lower since that trustee report came out in May of 2024. But one thing to keep in mind is that Social Security has never been a set it and forget it type of program. So if you think back when the Social Security was created in 1935, they didn't even have calculators. So not only was this program based on some very bad assumptions, but they didn't even assume that there was going to be a wage increase when they started Social Security. So it wasn't until 1950 that the first cost of living adjustment was implemented. And prior to that, they just thought that they had come up with the best program since sliced bread because people were paying into the program based on higher wages, and then people were being paid out at a flat rate that was always promised to them. So the program was essentially overfunded at that time. And in 1950, there was the first cost of living adjustment. Now, fast forward to 1983, because there was a lot of other changes that happened between then and 1983. But 1983, the program was on rough footing, right? And so Ronald Reagan made some pretty big sweeping changes, one of which was changing full retirement age from 65 to 67 over an extended period of time. They also changed the law to make 50% of the Social Security benefits taxable at the time of distribution. Now, 10 years later, they increased that from 50 to 85%, and that's what it is today. Now, sweeping changes that they made in 1983 have really been what's been able to put Social Security on solid footing from that time until today. When they made those changes in 1983, it stated in the 1983 Trustees Report that these changes will not bring the program till the end of time, that more changes would have to be made in order to extend the life of Social Security. So what could be done in order to extend the life of Social Security? The options are endless, but one is that they could increase the amount that is taxable, that is subject to Social Security taxes, known as a Social Security wage base. So right now, the first $176,000 of your income is going to be taxed for Social Security purposes. Even though this does increase pretty much every year systematically, they could increase this at a faster rate or put a program in place to say that it's going to increase at a faster rate in the future. So keep in mind, a lot of these changes that they've made in history haven't always been overnight changes. So you don't have to be scared that one day they're going to wave a magic wand and taxes are going to go up tremendously. For example, when they made the decision to change the Social Security full retirement age from 65 to 67, these changes were carried out over a 22-year period. So small changes carried out over a long period of time can still have a big impact. They could even increase the amount of taxes that you have to pay for Social Security. So right now, that amount that you pay on income up to the Social Security wage base is 6.2% for an individual. Of course, your employer kicks in another 6.2% for a total of 12.4%. This is another thing that could also be set to increase over time and not necessarily affect people overnight. Looking at history, the tax rate was 1.5% in 1950 and was set to gradually increase over a 28-year period to reach 5% in 1978, and it has been at the current 6.2% since 1990. So those two things could be done in combination. They could increase the Social Security wage base. They could also increase the amount of taxes that are paid on that Social Security wage base. On top of that, they could also change the full retirement age. So people are living longer, and perhaps in another area that they may focus on is the full retirement age. So I'm not going to go into all the different strategies that they could implement, but I will tell you that they are trying, and this is a bipartisan issue. So I know that doesn't give you a whole lot of hope to say that Congress is trying. If any member of Congress submits a proposal for fixing Social Security, The Social Security chief actuary has to reply back with a pretty lengthy document that includes analysis as to what the potential effects on Social Security would be if we were to enact the proposed bill to fix Social Security. So here are a couple different charts that are based on more recent proposals, but these proposals have been made 5, 10, 15 times a year for the last 20 years. So I believe there's got to come a time that Congress really starts to focus on this and put the time and effort into picking something that would work, which brings me to my next point. They are motivated. A report that was released by the Social Security Administration, and I'll put links in the show notes for these websites that I'm mentioning, basically said that for low income earners, Social Security will make up 78% of their income, and retirement for high income earners, Social Security will make up 20% of their total income in retirement. That stat right there makes this a bipartisan issue, because if we look at this report by Open Secrets released in 2018, the median net worth for members of the Senate is around $1.6 million. And for the House, it's just under $800,000. So remember, the median means that 50% of members of Congress are above these numbers and 50% are below. And sure, there are some ultra high net worth people in Congress, but each one only counts as one vote. Now, you may be thinking to yourself, well, that's not exactly true because members of Congress don't pay into Social Security, right? And to that, I would say that you're wrong, because it's a common myth that members of Congress do not pay into Social Security, because between 1920 and 1984, there was something called the Civil Service Retirement System, whereby all members of Congress were included in this other retirement plan and they did not pay into Social Security. And they were grandfathered into this option of continuing this program or paying into Social Security for anybody who joined Congress and was elected to Congress prior to 1984. However, anybody that was elected to Congress after 1984 does pay into Social Security and does not have an option whether or not they pay into Social Security. Which begs the question, how many members of Congress joined after 1984? So we did some research and found that only 4 members of the Senate and 4 members of the House were elected prior to 1984. So I hope this video was helpful in providing you some information about whether or not Social Security is going to be there for you in the future. And I do think that Congress is going to make some changes. It might take some time to get them motivated, but again, it is a bipartisan issue. There are a lot of tools in their toolbox and changes that can be made. Again, they don't have to be made overnight, and they can be carried out over a long period of time. But any changes that they make can create a ripple effect in time and really affect the Social Security program in the long term. Again, remember, going back to 1983, nobody thought that the program was going to continue without necessary changes at that time. So it's been known for a long time. And there was even reports released in 2010 that stated something very similar to the report that came out in 2024. So already a known issue, and I believe that they're going to tackle it before it's too late. If you haven't already, please go ahead and subscribe so you can be notified of future videos. I hope you've enjoyed this video today. Thank you.